Hi guys, this is the Idaho Picker, Logic Before Authority, here on Idaho Picker Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on part 3. As you recall, in part 1 and part 2 we went through explaining various aspects of the dynamics that are going on down in Louisiana and in the Gulf of Mexico. And we're going to continue on. As a refresher, you probably recall that some of the things that we were exploring as to what was going on is that the fact that the Oxy 3 cavern, the salt dome cavern, the cavern inside of there that is full of water and oil and debris, had went down to a level of 3945, which was 152 feet deeper than the last week's measurement. So the amount of fluid sitting in that cavern and the amount of debris in there is dropping. So where is it going, right? So that was one thing we're trying to figure out. The other thing is that the sinkhole itself, way up above the cavern, about 1,700 foot above, is continuing to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And the last measurements, they used a 750 foot cord to go across the side of a boat, which I don't know that that would be the way I would have measured a sinkhole depth. You know, maybe a sonar, maybe something, even a fish finder, to get an idea of depth on it instead of just dropping a cord, because the cord could have weight to it as well. But assuming the measurement is true and that in fact it is in excess of 750 feet deep, which is very, very deep, or at least for this sinkhole, was not deep compared to oceans and such. But so we're trying to figure out what that is. And you guys remember I showed you this, the map of all the streams and rivers that run down, come together, and then run out right down through the Assumption Parish area, which the Assumption Parish lays right against the Mississippi River. So, and my theory is that there is in fact an underground river that runs under there. And I'm not the only person that has had this theory in the past. I showed you a snippet out of this book explaining that in fact it is believed that there is an underground river. And I recall one time when I was in St. Louis, and I happened to meet a guy, and he was a kind of guy that likes to, go off and go into the woods with a metal finder, and a metal detector kind of thing. And he said he found a cave, and the cave went down and went under the river, and there was a river running through under this river, which I'm talking about the Mississippi, okay? And he said that it was the strangest thing, and it went on and went on and went on forever. And he said he turned around and came back. But he said there was a river running under the Mississippi River. He said he seen it with his own eyes. And I just happened to remember that, so I thought I'd share that with you. And also, I put the entire book, Underground Rivers, over on my website. It's in the Pickers Reading Library over at idahopicker.weebly.com. Now, continuing on to try to discuss and understand exactly what might be going on here, I've got a few other things I want to show you. Okay, got a couple of images here I want to talk to you about. Now you can imagine in your head already probably an underground river, how it would run underground. You'd have what's called an unconfined aquifer and a confined aquifer. Unconfined is something such as water running through sand, seeping through the ground, that kind of thing, okay? And then you got the confined aquifer, which is an area which is more like this, water running through a cavern. You can imagine at one point this cavern that I'm showing you here was maybe full of water rushing through here, okay? So likely the situation is down below the sinkhole, as you see in this image here. You have what's even labeled here is the Mississippi River alluvial aquifer, okay? So you have likely what's happened is because we know there's a stream and several other streams, and then there's the Mississippi right near here, and it is likely that there is a cavern, a underground river that runs by this salt dome or around one side of it, somewhere's under there. And what is happening is that as this sinkhole has gotten deeper and as more water has come down and gone into this cavern down here, okay, and this rock, this is the stabilized rock zone that they've been showing in some imagery that's destabilized this whole area, and the side of this salt dome is cracking up as and this is you got to understand, this is the size of 2 Empire State Buildings, so this is a very large area, okay. But what's likely happening is that the sinkhole is now protruding or beginning to protrude the bottom of it into the underground river, okay. And the underground river is also connecting through this cracked passageway that comes down into this cavern, and is causing an exchange of fresh water with salt water, because this is salt. So now you've got exposed salt to a direct source of unlimited, non-stop Mississippi River water coming down all the way across the United States and coming down through here. And you got an exchange going on. So the salt is dissolving away, and this cavern, which does not have metal walls, all it has is salt walls, okay, is likely widening, getting bigger down through here because of the exchange. So that would explain maybe that since it's getting bigger, maybe the settlement or the stuff that's in here that they're measuring when they measured the depth of this, as they were doing over here, okay. Maybe it's because it's getting bigger, it's able to go down further. That makes sense, right? Or, and hopefully this isn't the case, but you might have an exchange of water and salt and everything else coming up and back and forth through this area here, depending on the flow of the river and tides, because we've seen the tidal flows and stuff, so that we know that there's something that's causing this water to be pushed, at least from one angle, pushed backwards and forth. And it could be the fact that there is a tidal flow, the effect of the tidal flow on this underground river that's dumping out into the Gulf, under the water somewhere's out there likely, or coming up out in the marshes, is possibly affecting that as well. It would make more sense if it was coming out under the water in the Gulf, because then you would have a direct impact with the tides as the moon comes around the earth and so on. It would cause it to maybe get a shifting kind of thing going on, right? So there you have somewhat of a theory on that part of it. I'm going to continue on and show you some other things, okay? This is a map of southern Louisiana, okay? This is Louisiana here, going on up through this way, of course. This is Texas over here, Mississippi over here. And see all these black lines? These are fault lines, okay? There's a lot of fault lines in southern Louisiana and southeast Texas. And there are separations in the stone where gaps can form and earthquakes can happen. They're fault lines, okay? We can take a little closer look at it here and see. If you take a look here, you've got the dark red lines are suspected surface faults, and the gray lines are proven subsurface faults. So if you notice, all of them run backwards and forth like this. They're all running backwards and forth, and Assumption Parish is approximately, let's see here, approximately, I would say, right along in this area right here. See that black line or that gray line running across, which is a proven subsurface fault based on the river, the way it runs there. I've looked at this 1,000 times, and right there should be the sinkhole. Okay, where my mouse is at, right on that fault. So you've got these splits that are in the ground. these splits that are in the rock that they've proven, and then some of them that they suspect. Okay, and what's happening here is that Louisiana is ultimately sliding into the sea. Okay, it's heading that way pretty fast, and because you have all these slits that are coming up and happening in the ground, splits in the rock and all that, it is allowing a lot of course, gases. It makes pathways for gases to come up and to allow for earthquakes and everything that we're seeing here, and of course allow for sinkholes as well to form. This is another map showing how the earth down there is moving. Okay, the eastern Providence, which is Louisiana, and part of the central, which is Louisiana, shows that it's all sliding towards the Gulf. Okay, and that over here it folds under, and over here it slumps out. Okay, so just another image there to kind of give you an idea. I don't know if you've seen this before. I did do a video on this one time before. I'll show it to you again. Is that the question as to whether there are volcanoes in Louisiana, or underground volcanoes or calderas in Louisiana or the Gulf right there. Well, there is. There's one called Door Point. It's a buried volcano in southeast Louisiana. They actually drilled on it one time. They thought it was a salt dome and they were going to drill on it, but when they got down into it, they realized that they were drilling into, and this article goes into it. It was a book that was written about it, actually. This was an article about the book. But when they drilled down into it, what they found out was that they were drilling into the top of a dormant volcano. So they kind of stopped that. Okay, so they didn't continue drilling into it. Thank goodness, right? But so are there any other instances of this around? And I'm going to be able to show you here in a minute that in case that is the case. That's the imagery that they had of it. It looked like a salt dome, and in fact it was the top of a volcanic bulge under the just off the coast of Louisiana there. It's called Door Point. Now here is some more information about volcanoes. In this case, they're called mud volcanoes when they're underwater or underground like that. Okay, and this talks about 3 generations of mud volcanoes on the Louisiana continental slope. Okay, goes into talking about the different ones, and I'm just going to bring you down here and show you the map, the location of those 3. Okay, as you can see, the Door Point one was right up here. Okay, and this study that they studied, they found 3, and they only studied a small area, just a few miles across, and they found 3 in just this one area. Okay, and they have one that was extinct, but they could tell it had been a mud volcano, and then they found one that was near dormant, but was not dormant completely, and then they found one that was active. Okay, so what if you created your own mud volcano? Well, what if you created your own volcano? Volcano is just a place where the high pressure from below can come up through gases, magma, so on. What if you actually created one so that it would release a lot of methane? What if you did that? So that way all the methane would then come up through the ground and come up under the Louisiana. Say the Louisiana's over here to your right. What if you created that on purpose? Right? It's highly likely that's what they did here, is they punched that super deep well in the Gulf of Mexico in order to create something that would fracture the ground and create more of these mud volcanoes, or maybe even a volcano basically. Certainly looks like one almost, right? And now they've done it again, I guess, out there. They've blew up another one. And that's about all I have for you today, guys. I hope y'all guys have enjoyed this information, at least understanding more likely what is possibly going on down there, because they claim they have absolutely no idea. Make sure to subscribe to this new channel, Idaho Picker Reloaded, and I'll be releasing more documentary type publications, you might say, videos here on Idaho Picker Reloaded.